guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's yours truly, Amiyah, and if you are tuning in, then you already know what the title of this video is, and it is 21 questions that you've always wanted to ask a person of trans experience. So yesterday I took the liberty of opening a forum on my on my Instagram page, and I gave you guys an opportunity to submit questions that you've always wanted to ask a person of trans experience. And I went ahead and selected 21 of those questions out of the bunch that you guys sent in, which some of them were a bit extreme, but that's a whole nother topic. Anywho, I went ahead and decided on 21 of the questions and one bonus question actually, so 22 altogether. And I'm going to answer them today. Now, before I get into answering these questions, my response or point of view or opinion or whatever you want to take it as, it's not the end all be all for all trans people. There are a lot of people who may think differently than how I think or feel, and that's totally fine. So don't take my response or answers and just run out the door with it, because that's not the case. This is just simply about how I feel and how I would approach these questions that you guys answered. So without further ado, I have the questions here. We're gonna go ahead and get okay. So in response to that question, yes, I've seen trans women date. I've heard of them being in relationships together, or almost treating it like you would a lesbian relationship, if that makes sense. The only difference is that it's two trans women, so we have to remember that that's gender identity. Being lesbian or however they may identify deals with sexuality. So her finding another trans woman attractive would be sexuality. Them just so happening to be transgender deals with gender. So I think, it happens pretty often. I've only seen it a few times. But I mean, there's a trillion billion people in the world. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of trans relationships, and there's nothing wrong with that. Love who you love. With gender reassignment surgery, I think that's probably one of the biggest steps that you can take in your transition. I have girlfriends who have took that step, and they've all had different opinions about it before and afterwards. Me personally, I'm for it. If you are unhappy with what you have and you want to do something about it, I say go for it. I would just do my research and make sure that I am mentally prepared for that. That's the best advice. The best advice that I could give. I'm for it. I'm pro reassignment. But anywho, I don't know why trans women settle. I think I have an idea, only because I won't say I've settled in the past. Thinking back, I probably might have, but I also feel like the dating pool and circle is so small. It's very scarce. Not to mention, you don't know what people's intentions are. If people are really trying to be in a relationship, are they treating it as a fetish? There's so many different aspects to it. So I think in certain situations, some girls settle for what they can get, not realizing that if you wait, you can kind of get more. I hope that answered your question. I ain't settling, so I really don't know. For me, I knew that there was something different about me at a young age. I don't think I had the language or verbiage to basically articulate and say like, okay, well, I am transgender. It wasn't until later on, maybe like right after I graduated high school, where I kind of got the knowledge and did my own research. But prior to that, the only thing I just figured was, I'm either different or gay. Not realizing that me identifying as female regulated with me being trans. So I think it starts mentally. You kind of just know who you are, and then after you kind of sense or have an idea of who you are, you kind of go and get that research or that knowledge, or go seek maybe a psychological evaluation, or meet with a doctor who can kind of navigate you into where you are mentally. But I mean, aside from all that, I kind of knew who I was, or what I was going to be at a pretty young age, if that makes sense. No, I used to feel like, okay, so you have to have your breasts, you have to take hormones, you have to have all these, different body modifications or whatever in order to be considered trans, and that is not the case. As we all know, that transgender is a huge umbrella, and there are a lot of different people that fall under that umbrella. You do not have to have some type of surgery in order to identify as transgender. Like I told you before, it starts mentally, and if you identify with that, then people should respect you as such. If you decide to identify as she, her, and you don't desire to go any step further to look like what you identify as, that is totally your business. I personally don't think that will work best for me. I need the outside to match with the inside, but for others who don't desire to go further, that is totally fine. That's up to you. That just doesn't work for me. So I hope that answered the question. Okay. That's a very good question. And honestly, I have an answer, and then again, I really don't know. I get along with all women. I think women are beautiful, whether they identify as cis, trans, whatever. I just appreciate a beautiful woman, especially dark-skinned women. Like, I just think they're gorgeous. However, for whatever reasons, they just, sometimes trans women and cisgender women just do not get along. There's a laundry list of things, and we will be here all day. These are just things that I've heard. However, I do know that women don't even like other women. They don't get along. Women cannot stand other women. Not all women, because there are a lot of supportive women, but there are a lot of girls who just can't take other women. So me personally, I just go into it knowing that I'm not expecting much from another woman, or to give me a break, even though I feel like initially they should. I just feel like they're not going to give me a break. They don't give other women a break, so why would another woman, cut me a break? I could sit here and say it could be because I'm confident in who I am. It could be because, I feel beautiful and, I feel loved. It could be a whole bunch of reasons. Girls will find whatever reasons not to like you. It could be what you're wearing that day, how you look, the man that you're with, the attention that you get. It's just so many different reasons. One thing I do know is that there are some women who cannot take and understand that this individual used to be one gender and is now another gender, and now it's like, damn, I'm a woman. I already have to compete with other cisgender women in the dating pool and just this whole pool of life, and now they don't drop in trans women, so that's a whole nother factor that I have to compete with. And that's just unfortunately what it is. Some girls are just really catty and nasty about it, but at the end of the day, when you're that girl, you press forward. You don't really be bothered with all of that. Either, if you like me or you rock with me, then it's the same mutual feelings. If not, then I really could care less, because it's not going to stop what I have going on over here. Just saying. I think, for one, you need to really make sure that you like her as an individual and you want to get to know her for who she is, not solely just because she is trans. You need to make sure that you are separating that thin line of a fetish and actually, like I said, wanting to get to know her as a person. Because as trans women, we deal with that a lot. A lot of people, well, men in general, will get it mixed up and use the wrong type of wording. It's like, oh, I find you attractive and I want to date you. Whole time they really see you as a fetish and want some type of sexual exchange with you or whatever. That isn't always the case, but unfortunately it's a huge percentage of it. So you want to make sure that before you even approach her, you have you together. Number two, you want to make sure that mentally you are prepared to enter this young lady's life and date her and court her or whatever. Not to mention protect her, because being trans comes with a lot, and we want to be with someone who is mentally capable of dealing with the scrutiny and judgment of the outside world. So if you want to pursue this girl, make sure that you are serious. you are taking the time to learn her as an individual, about the community that she comes from and represents, and that you genuinely are there to get to know her, and you're going to protect her, and, you know, mentally you are together, because initially you're going to have to deal with family, friends, society, whatever, having an opinion. And if you aren't mentally able to deal with that, you aren't going to be beneficial for her, and your relationship will not last. When it comes to dating, for me, because I value my life and I don't like my time being wasted, and I want to ensure that the person pursuing me or that I'm getting to know is really in it for me, I decide to tell you up front. Now, if I'm out at a bar or something and a guy's pursuing me or showing interest, then I'm not telling you. Like, if you buy a drink, cool, that's fine, you buy a drink. But I'm not entitled to tell you, hey, you know, I know you about to buy me a drink. I am trans, by the way. That's none of your business. For one, I have to think about my safety. I have to think about the environment. Some men may not care. Some men may just react just because he's out in a public setting. You just never know. So I just give me my drink. Thank you. If I'm equally interested in you, then I will tell you. Typically over text is safe, over the phone. Like, before y'all even get serious, or definitely way before you decide to be sexual with someone or whatever like that, you want to let them know, hey, I am transgender. I'm not sure if you knew or not, but I wanted to get that out of the way. If that's not something you're into, I'm totally cool with that. I understand it. We can delete each other's numbers and go about our business. See how quick you can just knock that out. And then that way, later on down the line, there's no confusion. You know that this guy is around and staying around because he knows you for your authentic self. And that is a beautiful trans woman. That's typically what I do. There are some girls who don't tell them right off the back, but it's totally up to you. You just got to know the person you're dealing with and know your environment. Assuming that this particular young lady is in the sex work business, entertainment business, escorting, whatever. Now, do not chew me up for this, but your trust is going to be fucked because you're having exchanges with these men who you clearly know, I'm assuming, are in relationships, maybe have wives at home, you know, whatever, and they're coming to spend money with you, to spend time with you. So mentally, you're like, okay, you have a wife, but you're stepping out to come tip over here. So when a guy does approach you, it's kind of hard to trust him because you know what it's like being on that other side. And I totally get it. I don't really know. I mean, I won't say don't trust people, because what I had to learn is that you have to give everybody a fair chance. I think for me, your trust starts at 100, and then it's almost like a grade. So your grade starts at 100, and based on the work that you turn in, how you do throughout the semester, the year, whatever, will determine if the grade stays or if it deteriorates. And that's how I factor in trust. I think in your situation, I get where you're coming from, but it's like, I don't know, you just have to take that chance. Like, one thing I've truly learned being in my relationship is that you have to just start with a clean slate. You can't think about who you dealt with in your past, how things were then, what your friends may be going through in their relationships. You just have to start with a clean slate and trust that you are doing what's best for your relationship, and also give, you know, that person a chance, because you don't want to go into a relationship not being trusted. I'm not saying be naive, but you just have to give it a chance to trust. And you also got to understand your line of work too. So it's like a double-edged sword. I mean, there are some people who genuinely just don't know, because the media depicts trans women as just sex. We're addicted to sex. We transition solely to satisfy men who have these secret fetishes. And I don't know about other girls, but over here, that's not the case. Now, being a trans woman of color and having friends who are in that line of work, I understand. I understand both sides of it. So I get where you're coming from, because it's like that's all you see. But we have to, for one, before I even get into unpack that, there are a lot of gays who are in the sex work, cisgender men who are in sex work, heterosexual men in sex work. A lot of women are in sex work who are on OnlyFans doing all this stuff. So it's like the light doesn't get shined on them. Everyone is solely focused on trans this, trans that. Like, you would be surprised how many people are in sex work that are not transgender. So that's the first thing. But since we are talking about trans, I'll just go back on that. I just wanted to enlighten y'all that it's way worse on the other side of the fence. For me, I think it comes from survival. That's what I've noticed, especially being in this community, that a lot of girls are doing it for survival. You have to think that it's hard to get employment. It's not that hard anymore, but at the times it is hard. There are a lot of people who did not graduate high school or did not decide to go off to college. School is not for everybody. I went to school for a few years and later on found out that it wasn't for me. But I mean, luckily I was able to still use my skills that I learned in school and actually get a proper 9-to-5 or whatever you call it, if you will. However, not every girl is fortunate for that, and some of them just don't want to deal with the fact of being in a workspace and having to worry about if someone's going to discriminate against you for being trans. There were a lot of jobs that I was overqualified for and did not get simply because they may have known that I was transgender. Even with me being a pharmacy technician, when I got hired for that job, maybe like 4.5 years ago, there was a young lady there that I did not know personally, and she knew of me through social media and went and told everybody at the establishment that I work at that, you guys just hired a trans girl, and it was a whole big thing with that. So I understand why some girls may turn to sex work due to survival and not wanting to deal with the scrutiny of being in corporate America and being judged, and it could be unsafe. So I understand both aspects of it, but not every girl is in sex work. You'd be surprised a large amount, at least maybe 60 to 70% of trans women actually work a 9-to-5. I know a lot of girls who are degreed, have careers, are bosses, that are not in sex work. And there are some girls who are in sex work and get paid, but it just varies from girl to girl. You just have to do what you have to do to survive. And that's honestly what it leads up to. Now, if someone has the option of going to school and getting a job and you're totally fine, but you just want to go do sex work, then that's their business. They just may see that as an easier way out. I really don't know, but that's kind of like some of the reasons why girls do turn to that. And then there is a market for it. There are a lot of men who will pay to see some of these girls. So, I mean, I think the bigger question is why is it so easy for them to get paid through that? Because there's an audience for it. I hope that helps. I could go on and on about that, but that's the best that I can do for now. Yes and no. Yes, I do get nervous, and there is like something in the pit of my stomach that kind of like, shakes me a little bit whenever I see something on the news or I hear about something. However, I do believe in God. I do believe that I was put on this earth for a purpose. I do believe in waking up every morning, praying, going to sleep at night and praying. Praying before I go to sleep. I do have family that pray over my life. And most importantly, I do make sure that I'm not putting myself in a position to possibly end up in a situation. So, yeah, we can't control life. Our whole life is already mapped out. You never know when you're going to leave this earth. But I'm going to do my damn best to not meet those issues halfway. So that goes back into taking accountability. And I'm not saying that that's been the case with a lot of girls, But in certain situations, girls have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or just in certain situations. And it's like, we also have to take a step back and look at it like, okay, am I taking accountability for this? What can I do as a trans person to avoid certain situations or to limit my chances of being in a situation where I would be harmed? So I make sure I'm not going to places where I'm not welcomed. There's not that many places. I mean, I go out to the heterosexual scene, the gay scene. I go everywhere. I'm always watching my surroundings. I'm not meeting up with random guys. I'm not going out by myself late at night. You know, I'm just cautious of where things could go wrong and where I need to be. I know that if I do go out with my friends, we're going out in a group. If we all leave, we're checking up with each other to make sure we know that, hey, you made it home, whatever. I don't know. I'm just always careful. Even with leaving work, there may be guys who show interest in me or try to talk to me. I'm not even stopping for that. I mean, I'm in a relationship, obviously, but even prior to that, I'm just very, very careful with how I move. I can't speak for other people, but I know I don't want to be on someone's Channel 9 news. I don't want to be in someone's paper. I don't want to have my family crying over my life. So, yes, I can't control how other people move, but I can control how I move. So I make sure that I'm just not in certain situations around certain people or doing certain things that could further put me in a situation that I don't need to be in. Hope that answered your question. And my advice is why? That would be my first question, is why? Are you doing it for survival, or are you doing it because you feel like, okay, well, that's just the ideal thing to do? Like, this generation, like, people are just getting famous and becoming billionaires, millionaires off of so many different things. So I mean, if it's for survival, then that's on your list. But I would put that at the bottom of my list. If I were you, I would focus on my talents. I would focus on, you know, job placement. Like, I would look at all the different resources I have before resorting to that, because that lifestyle comes with a lot. For me, I don't want anything to do with it because I have an image to represent, and protect. I have family. I feel like when that stuff is out on social media, it follows you everywhere. I just feel like when it comes with sex work, if you aren't mentally prepared for that, it comes with a lot. Like, you're making a huge sacrifice. You're sacrificing your reputation, love. You know, it's just so many different things that go into it, and I can go on and on about this. So, my first question would just be why. Why are you even considering that? Have you looked at all of your other options? That would be my first question, and then we would go into a few other things. Okay, good. So this was from a guy, and my advice, honestly, I don't think it's hard. I think with trans women, we just know what comes with certain men. So I won't say that it's hard. I think it could be your approach. You know, like, so many men approach us on a sexual tip. So it's kind of like, that's kind of like all we're accustomed to. Like, yeah, men have approached me in different ways, but if I were to pull up my inbox on Instagram or my Facebook inbox, it's just like non-stop chasers. So when you're just accustomed to that, and I mean, I feel like I don't put myself out there in a sexual manner or for a guy to even approach me like that, but that's just how some of them are. A lot of men feel like, okay, well, trans women are just into sex. So that's just how they treat us. For whatever reason, we just have that bad rep, unfortunately. And sometimes a guy could approach you and you may feel like he's just like everybody else and just miss out on it. And maybe this is one of those guys, I don't know, but there are a lot of girls who are looking to date and get to know someone, I think you should focus on your approach and think about how she's been approached by other men and maybe look for a different route. Be creative with it and show her something different. I think that would possibly work. Good luck. For me, no. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, I'm pretty content with what I've had done so far. I kind of feel still like I have my same body. I mean, I just feel like it's more so like I've blossomed into a young lady. It's still the same body. I'm still 5'6". My weight is still up and down in between like 165, 170. I just more so look at it as like I just blossomed into a young lady. I don't regret anything because I do things to my body for me, not for a man, not for a family, not for y'all, society, whatever. It was first for me because I wanted my outside to match the woman that I believed I am and was on the inside. So I have no regrets. I don't ever feel like, oh my gosh, I wish I can go back. I'm pretty content. And that's why it's very important to really do your research and think about what it is that you want to do to your body before you just go in and do a change or augment your body or whatever, because a lot of this stuff is irreversible. So that was a really good one. Members, I don't. Simple as that. Like, to know me is to love me, and that is a privilege. If you are family and you don't accept it, that's totally fine. I respect your decision, so respect mine by not wanting to deal with you. Simple as that. As a child, I always loved junk food, but which child doesn't love junk food? I love video games. I'm a huge gamer, and that hasn't changed despite me transitioning. I don't know, the way I am now was the same way I was as a child. A picky eater, real funny acting, somewhat bougie, you know, always the life of the party, laughing, carrying on. Like, nothing's really changed, honestly. Like, the way I am now is just like a more advanced person of who I used to be as a child. Like, as a child, I always did my sister's hair, dressed them up, played video games with my brothers. I was kind of like the child who was cool with everybody, but also always to myself. I love listening to music and singing all day and off key and stuff, and I still do that now. I did it as a child and I do it now. So nothing's really changed. I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to family, because they feel like, you know, I lost a family member. You're no longer the person I knew. And in fact, if you really just take time and be open-minded, you never really lost that person. They're still there. You just have to break down that wall and be open-minded and really love them for who you've always loved them for. That is, for one, false. A majority of them probably do, but I don't know. I mean, some of them deal with DL men because those DL men may be the only things available in their area, I may say. Some of these trans women like prefer to live a stealth life. So I honestly don't know. Okay, so let me not speak for everybody else. I'm just gonna speak for me. I'm not dealing with nobody DL. I'm not gonna say I haven't in the past. Like when I was in college, I dealt with, you know, somebody that played football or whatever, but looking back and like thinking about like what I went through and like the stuff that I would be subjected to and put up with, I'm not dating nobody DL, baby. I'm the prize. If you can't boldly love me out loud and like, you know, do me like you would any other woman, not even do me like any other woman, like better than, then I have no reason talking to you at all. I really don't know why they do. I would hope that all of y'all are done with that, because DL men are so like last season. It's honestly to me, like for someone not to love me openly and like a man not being able to live in his truth is a turn off. Like if you can't proudly like express your love for the girl that you live with every night, and you know that you're with and into, then you're a loser. Like, I just think that that's a turn off. I understand why some men have to be DL for certain reasons, and that's totally fine, but don't bring that over here. You have no business approaching me, or I feel like any other trans woman, if you can't date her openly or whatever. Like, figure out your stuff first and get your situation together, and then go deal with her. Like, we spend a large part of our lives being unhappy and trying to figure out who we are, and I just feel like it's unfair to be subjected to dating a guy who wants to deal with you after 10 o'clock and don't want to bring you around his friends, can't meet his family. Y'all can't go nowhere in town because you don't want to run into somebody he knows. Like, that's stupid. That's lame. How do trans people have sex? So this question is super funny to me. Honestly, it's no different than everybody else. Like, we all have sex. It's the same thing. There's only a few ways you can have sex. I mean, I have good sex, but you know, I can't talk about what everybody else does. But sex is just sex. As long as you're being safe, you're doing it with someone you love, and they're not forcing you to do things that you don't want to do, then that's totally fine. I mean, it's just sex. I don't really know how else I have to break that down. Like, it's good sex. It's community. And honestly, I believe so. I hope so. I believe so, and I hope so. I really do hope so, because it's unfortunate that we have so much knowledge and representation out here, and people are still ignorant to this day. Like, it's just unfortunate. Like, I understand if you don't understand something or you don't care for it, which is totally fine, because no one is here to make you like the trans community and this and that. You don't have to, but I do feel like everybody's entitled respect. And if we truly respected each other, there would be less killings, less discrimination, less misunderstandings. We just need to show respect. Simple as that. I do hope it gets better. And it will one day, but we just all have to do our part. And not even those outside the transgender community, but us within the community. We need to take accountability. We need to educate. We also need to meet these people halfway. And that's why I enjoy doing my vlogs and just sharing information on my Instagram. Like, so many girls are like, you know, you are so open about your transition, your before pictures, your boyfriend, and, you know, your family. And it's just like, it's not about the fame and like, oh, I want to be known and this and that. It's more so just about showing those who do not have family members that are trans experience, or friends, or you may not even know someone in your neighborhood or your city or, you know, town that is trans. It's almost like me having these videos on my social media is giving you a chance to get that experience. You may not personally know someone of trans experience, but you can say, well, I've been introduced or at least enlightened on the topic because of Amiyah's video or Amiyah's social media. Like, we just have to do our part. And if I can just get one person to watch one of my videos and learn something about the trans community and break down one of those misconceptions, then that's enough for me, honestly. So I do think we will get better one day. We'll see. Yes. Everybody is religious in one way or another. I know that I am. Oftentimes, especially growing up, I used to hear like, oh, well, you're going to hell if you're gay, if you're lesbian, if you're trans, this and that. Disregarding all the other sins, but solely focusing on like you being trans, you're going to hell. And it's just like, God knows my heart, and I understand what the Bible says, and I understand people's beliefs, but I feel like I was put here on this earth for a reason. I know where my blessings come from. I know that I am a good person. I'm not perfect, nowhere near it, but I do right by my community. I do right by society, and I just know that if God didn't want me here, He wouldn't have placed me here. So I do feel like I have a bigger purpose, and solely, that's just like me just living my life and just being open with my authentic self and just showing people a different side of um, who I am and what my community represents, honestly. I don't know, I just thank God. There are so many different situations that I could have been in. Um, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have done the things that I've done. And, so I'm just grateful. And I do believe that you can be religious. And I feel like no one should be able to tell you different. If you know that you have a personal relationship with God or whomever it is that you see as your higher power, then focus on that. Like, when all this is over and said and done, they're not going to be asking about anybody else. He's going to ask about you. So, answer is yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that life isn't easy for me. Now I appreciate it. I love that it's not easy for me because that means that everything that I am and that I work for came off the strength of my back, came from my determination and my faith, and knowing that I wanted better for myself. I know that life isn't easy, but I kind of feel like it makes me even stronger that I have to work a little bit harder just to be at the same level in society. It's unfortunate, but honestly, like, living and going through my transition and figuring out who I was at the age of 14 has really, like, shown me that, I'm a bad bitch. Like, I've been through some experiences and I've made it through that. Not to mention, like, I've given back to help others and to make it easier for their transition. So I wouldn't change a thing. I love who I am. I love being different. I love that I am loved for being different and sticking to my authentic self. And yeah, I love being trans. I don't know, it's not easy, but I love it. And in order for me to love who I am and love the person that I've grown to be, I would have to love being trans. So that was all the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I answered them to the best of my abilities for you. I really hope you guys got a really good answer out of me. Like I said, always, I love you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much for following me. If you are not following me, you need to go to AllAboutAmiyah on my Instagram, Amiyah Johns on Facebook, AllAboutAmiyah on Twitter, and AllAboutAmiyah on my YouTube. Make sure that you share the video, you like, subscribe, and be safe. Make sure you guys are wearing your mask. If you are not, make sure you go get vaccinated. And to all of my trans individuals out there, I love you, love you, love you guys so much. Continue to be strong. Continue to hold yourselves accountable. And remember to just put yourself first in any situation. I cannot stress that enough. And if you have any questions, need advice, whatever, if you feel like you have something you want to tell me, I don't know. Don't forget to inbox me on Instagram. I do respond to all my messages. And once again, I love you guys so much. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.